A thought came to my mind this morning as I was arising, and as I work it out, it appears to fit. Now, I'm not working on it too hard. It's just a theory or thought. But if you have a difficult life, if you felt like you've been dealt a bad hand all your life, you didn't have much to work with, to start with, take courage, because the Lord knows that. He knows that we all start with different talents or cards. We're not all on easy street to begin with, but some are. And those who do start on easy street may have an even wider range of difficulties or temptations confronting them that the rest, the many, don't have. We don't know. We don't know what another person's lot is until we've walked 2 moons in their moccasins, and I suppose that means 2 months, not just 2 days, which is something we obviously can't do, so it's hard to judge someone else, and that's why we're not to. But we must judge ourselves, measure our own progress. We can remember in our youth where we started, the trials we had. Maybe you grew up in poverty. Maybe your parents weren't the best, or your family was hostile to you. That happens. Whatever it is, it's not where you start out, it's where you end. The Lord wants to see how we play the hand we are dealt. If we lose our patience and just begin to cheat because everyone else is doing it and that's how to get ahead quick, or if we diligently and daily walk that narrow path, and even though we're not winning by this world's standards, we're also not playing by this world's fallen standards. We're playing by a higher set of values. Then, of course, by those values, we would be winning. It's such a paradox living in this realm of opposites. So whatever bag of talents we begin with, He wants to see how we manage them. Do we hide our light under a bushel? Do we develop our talents? You might be good at woodworking. Do you work on that to become a craftsman, one of the best ever at that skill? No matter how much talent you might have to begin with, there's still techniques and practice, a lifetime of work to hone that, make something of it. And even those people who don't believe they were born with any particular natural talents can develop great skills with work, labor, practice, adhering to principles, learning the foundation and building on it. And in doing so, we create our own vessel, our own spirit, carving it out like a statue, chip by chip. Are we beautiful in the end, our spirit, or is it a grotesque thing? So I guess my theory is the closer you are to Jesus, the more you're going to suffer in this world. And I got that idea because last night I was just scrolling and noticed a photograph, or a picture, really, an artist's concept, of how all the original apostles died. And it wasn't a good thing. None of them were in luxurious rest homes in a comfortable bed. They were all crucified or skinned alive, slain by spears. Matthew, it said, was killed by a halberd, and I had to look up that to see what it is. It's one of those long poles with an axe at the end and a spike, so I suppose there are various ways to chop and stab someone with that, an all-purpose weapon. They were stoned to death, killed with arrows, sawn in half. I remember hearing about one of the prophets who was on the run from the people who don't want to hear his prophecy, and he climbed into a hollow log, and they found him there and just sawed the log in half with him in it. How convenient for them. Matthias, who was Judas's replacement, was beheaded. That seems the best of all. Quickest, and John, it says, died naturally, but it wasn't that easy. I believe they tried to kill him twice, stoning and something else. Was it boiling alive? I don't recall. But either way, they gave up and just exiled him on an island by himself. Solitary confinement is not fun. And that's where he wrote Revelation. He had to remain alive to write the finishing book of the book. These were the men who were the closest to Jesus, probably in character, certainly in faith. They were faithful. They were loyal. This matters. Even under pressure, under ridicule, condemnation, under torture, they did not recant. Throughout history, Fox's Book of Martyrs details men and women who would not recant their faith and were burned alive, sawn asunder, tortured in the chambers of the Inquisitions. And in my mind, they were the closest to Jesus in character and faith, as he suffered these things himself. And they weren't better than him, they were just close to him. But let's look at the other side of the coin. How have the wicked of history been? What are the traits of Satan? Well, he's a liar, a deceiver, he's a rapist. That's how he dealt with Eve. He tells you 9 truths, so you get to trust him, you follow him. But the one lie, the one icing on the top of the cake lie that he tells you, ruins everything. And that's his modus operandi. He's very deceitful. He's a shape-shifter. He might appear as one thing, but be something else inside. He's two-faced. He might be beautiful. Wasn't Lucifer one of the most beautiful of angels? Look at the celebrities, the gorgeous faces and bodies, sculpted workout bodies, and well-dressed with mansions and so forth. But inside, what do they look like? Are they following a completely different life? A secret life? A horrid, vile life? Who knows? Some of them may be. It would appear that Satan's followers are blood drinkers. His religion has to do with the shedding of blood, sacrificed to him by death of innocents, innocent animals, innocent children, and the innocent followers closest to Christ. He's a sacrificer. And let's look at the rich and powerful of the world. Do they have any or all of these traits? And they're living luxuriously. Yeah, the closer you are to Satan, the more you're going to have his lifestyle. Well, it's a choice. We know that you can have a comfortable life now. And I'm not saying that someone who's, worked hard all their life and has a house and sits on a couch and watches TV, I'm not saying that kind of comfort is evil. But we're talking about behaviors, and there's an old Eastern saying, the bigger the front, the bigger the back. You show one side of the coin, but what's on the other one? The more shiny appearing the head, but what's the tail? Well, it's just a thought. I know people who complain all the time because their lives are crap. They try to get ahead, they work harder, they make an extra grand or something in a month. They think they've had a good month, and then their water tank springs a leak, or their car drops an axle or something. There's always something to immediately cancel all the work they've done. Now they're back to where they were, or even farther in the hole, with having to take up a loan to repair whatever the damage was. Some health problem happens. This life is quite a trial. People like that, I find them to be very dependable, very strictly law-abiding, trying to live by high principles. But their own family can be their enemies. And I say to myself now, well, I guess you're closer to Christ than I am. You've got it harder. I'm sorry. I am sorry for these hardships that people have. But I'm also in awe, in a way, because throughout it, they haven't compromised. They haven't corrupted themselves. Which would be easy to do, to just fold and say, okay, I'll be an a-hole. I'll start cheating people too and get ahead. But they don't. And as somebody said to me the other day, looking at the world and thinking, how can youngsters even make it at all? I mean, I'm in my 60s and still trying to figure out how to make a living. I don't have grand possessions. And he said to me, well, our lives are almost over anyway, to which I kind of laughed. Yeah, I suppose, and maybe that wouldn't be a bad thing. In the past, the saints, and any follower of Christ is considered a saint, they used to look forward to the day of their death, if they could die a martyr, or even die with a clear conscience. They didn't celebrate their birthdays. It wasn't a happy thing coming into this world. And I've read that only a vain man celebrates his own birth. No, they were looking forward to getting out of here, a better person than they came. not having hidden their talents. We're really not promised a bed of roses in this life, but just the opposite. We will be scorned and laughed to derision. We will be persecuted, despitefully used, and receive nothing but fiery darts. Oh, what a wonderful life to look forward to. But there are promises. I mean, the scriptures do say, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. I have a problem with that because for the last 200 years, every weapon formed against our people has prospered to the almost the elimination of us off the earth. At this time, we can see that. We can look into the future and see where we are dwindling and not reproducing, and, well, that's it. What are we supposed to do? Maybe these promises aren't pertinent for the little season or during the divorced state wherein we find ourselves, where we've been born. We were born at a time when we weren't protected. We weren't gathered under his wings, as the hope of the ancient passages proclaims. So I don't know how much of these old texts are pertinent to us when in our lives we find something different. All we have is this hope. I mean, the apostles were the closest to Jesus, and that's why they suffered like him, because their faith would have been unshakable. They actually got to meet him, see him, know him, hear his words. They would know exactly what he said and didn't say, whereas we only have these old records that have been tampered with to try to trust, or maybe trust to some degree. But our faith is shakable where theirs wouldn't have been. They would have seen him walk on water, heal the sick, raise the dead. They would have seen him lying dead on the cross, clothed up in that wrap and put inside the tomb with that massive stone. As they were in the upper room, wondering what to do now, and there was a knock on the door a week later, and he showed up, that would affect you. That would make your faith unshakable. Come hell or high water, or death or torture, it doesn't matter. I testify this is the fact, this is the real. I've seen it with my own eyes. And so they did have to suffer these kind of punishments. Ours are long and lingering. Ours are the death of 1,000 cuts. And our hope is something far distant that we haven't seen. We've known no miracles in our lives. And have we even known prayers answered? Probably not the ones we really want. We're kept from death in certain situations. Maybe we've had accidents or whatever, and we're still alive. For what reason, we don't know. Well, I'll just add to the mix, and maybe it's adding to the confusion. But hope is all we have because we don't have a word from a person right in front of us. Our words are written. So what are we to do? Well, I just looked in 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha, and this seems to be the command we've heard before. Chapter 2, verse 20, where our commander says, do right to the widow, judge for the fatherless, give to the poor, defend the orphan, clothe the naked. Heal the broken and the weak, laugh not at a lame man to scorn. Defend the maimed. Let the blind man come into the sight of my clearness. Keep the old and young within thy walls. Wheresoever thou findest the dead, take them and bury them, and I will give thee the first place in my resurrection. Isn't that interesting? Even in the Old Testament, this in-between book, they were talking about the resurrection. Not the hope of heaven and a harp flying around doing nothing, but rebuilding this earth in a body that can't die, that can no longer be threatened by the evil of this world. Well, not that they'll be around. Abide still, O my people, and take thy rest, for thy quietness shall come. In verse 27, he says, be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry and have abundance. I've never been merry. I don't know what that even feels like. Can we even imagine it? Dancing for joy? Well, if we saw the just deserts of the wicked, perhaps we would. We haven't in our lifetime seen any punishment for Satan and his servants. Verse 28, the heathen shall envy thee, you, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee, saith the Lord. My hand shall cover thee, so that thy children shall not see hell, the grave, again. Be joyful, O thou mother, with thy children, for I will deliver thee, saith the Lord. Remember thy children that sleep, for I shall bring them out of the sides of the earth, and show mercy unto them. For I am merciful, saith the Lord Almighty. Embrace thy children, until I come, and show mercy unto them. For my wells run over, and my grace shall not fail. And we can only hope in these. And there are more promises. And they've not yet come to pass. So if any of the promises or prophecies have come to pass, well, then there's a track record that maybe these will. For certainly the last days are upon us. Let's hope it's also the last days for the evil that surrounds us like a black cloak of impenetrable darkness. And we're but a little candle trying not to be snuffed out. And I don't wake up thinking, gee, what can I say today? Making this sermon, whatever it is. No, I wake up thinking, gee, do I have to do this again? If I find some information like this that kind of inspires me, I do want to pass it on because it meant something to me and maybe to someone else. But I don't want to be guilty of hiding a light that I find and making this world an even darker place. No, if we can even light one candle, we ourselves won't stumble. And that's worth something. Okay, all for now. Until next time.